Boa tarde, muito bem-vindos ao nosso Google Hangout de hoje. Estou aqui com a Jéssica, ela é uma das nossas diretoras acadêmicas da EF, e ela está aqui com a gente para explicar um pouco, a partir do momento que você adquire um curso com a EF, toda a parte acadêmica, o que você vai adquirir, o que a EF te oferece, e também o dia a dia, o que você vai vivenciar no seu intercâmbio. A apresentação será em inglês, então é legal já para ir treinando, para já ir pegando o jeito da língua. E a gente tem aqui a Lilian, que se tiver alguma dúvida, algum questionamento direto no YouTube, é só escrever, mesmo em português, que a gente traduz aqui para ela, e ela vai tirar todas as dúvidas, parte acadêmica, de aprendizado, tudo que vocês quiserem saber um pouco mais da EF. So I'm here with Jessica.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for stopping by to watch this presentation about our language courses abroad. So I'd like to begin by asking the question, why study with EF? I know there are many language schools out there that will teach you English. So what is special about EF in particular? Well, I did some questioning to Brazilian students at my school, and I asked them what it is that they really like about EF. And I think the number one reason that they wanted to be here is that we're the whole package. We have language courses in English, but we also provide activities, housing, and we have a full immersion of English because students are learning in a city with native English speakers. That means their every day will be in an English environment, and their entire life will be about English. And that makes a big difference in the lives of students. Now, one student in particular, she's currently with us, her name is Renata, and she said, everyone at EF is so nice and friendly. It's easy to balance our studies and other activities outside of the school. I think that quote in particular, it really represents EF because we're not just teaching you English, we're also giving you a lot more in a whole experience that will make memories, friends, and adventures for a long time. So while you're studying with us, one of the number one reasons is the academic life. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how we teach academics in our school. We have a few different types of courses. So if you want to study a general course with us, that will look like the middle, which is a lot of general English. Every day you might have 2 80-minute lessons of general English, and then you'll have at least 2 spin classes that will be able to focus on a particular subject matter. So your general English will be reading, writing, listening, speaking, grammar, vocabulary. You have a lot of different aspects of language, and your general English lessons will be a part of all of them. Now, the spin classes, or special interest classes, will allow you a chance to focus on a topic a little more specific. Maybe you have great speaking, but you need more help with your writing. So your special interest class can focus on writing. You're also able to change that class many times during your course. So you could begin doing some grammar, become an expert at grammar, and you might want to transfer into a speaking class. So that kind of transition is very natural. With your general English lessons, we do put students all together at the same English level, which is a bit tricky because everyone has different skill sets. You might be really good at a couple things like vocabulary or reading, but you might not have good speaking and listening skills, which means that when you come to us, we have to make a compromise. We have to put you in a class that best suits all of your skills, not just 1 or 2. Now, if you want even more classes, specifically with the spins, you might want to choose an intensive course with us. The intensive course would allow you to have more than 1 type of spin class per week. You might have 2 different spin classes that meet 2 times a week for 80 minutes. And then you might also have an additional 1 time a week spin class that will allow you to practice your speaking or one other more important skill. So unless you're an exam student and you want to do exams every single day in your spin classes, being an intensive student will give you a chance to practice many different focused skills or topics in a given week. So Remember that our lessons, if you're looking at this chart, are based on 40-minute classes. So in most schools, we actually have 80-minute classes. That means that if you see 32 lessons, you might actually have 16 lessons of 80 minutes each. So some of the spin classes we offer at my school are listed on this sheet. They're organized by time and day so that students every week during orientation can take a look at all the courses we offer, and they can make decisions throughout their course about which class would be right for them. We also have descriptions of these spin classes, and we're happy to explain them further, whether it's in your general English class or whether it's in the academics office. You can come stop by any academics office, and we'll be very happy to explain what course might be best given your particular needs. So remember, general English is for all the skill sets, but special interest classes are an opportunity for you to focus on something you're most interested in. Now, the kind of methodology we use here is based on the Effecta system, which means that you're going to use many different resources in order to learn English with us. You will get books. That's pretty standard. Most English classes give you a class book to follow along in lessons, as well as a guidebook for extra practice and exercises when you get home for homework. But we also have iLab times. Your general class will meet in an iLab and allow you to do some practice on the computer for your English benefit. You also have iPads in your general English class that are available for all the students. So perhaps a teacher will pass out, every student gets a separate iPad for the 80-minute lesson, and maybe the unit is the past tense. So you're studying how to conjugate the verbs in the past tense. Well, in an iPad class, you might go around and take pictures all around the school, come back and do a presentation of a story, telling the story in the past tense using the iPads. Or you might use a specific EF application called the EF Classroom app, where your teacher can interact with you live and pass activities to you. You have a guided instruction. So the other types of resources we have available are PowerPoint, workshop, and we have a lecture class as well. Now, the PowerPoint and workshop classes are a part of your general English curriculum. They'll give you an opportunity to focus on speaking, where you can role play real natural-like events. And also, the PowerPoints have an opportunity for teachers to use a PowerPoint like this and show everybody a grammatical point or maybe a vocabulary topic. So you have a lot of visual cues, and it's more interactive than only studying from the book. The most important thing to recognize is that the Effecta method is about blended learning. We want all of the students to have a great experience with us, and in order to do that, they cannot use just one resource the entire time. So whether it's in the computer lab, with iPads, in a lecture hall, or on your own PowerPoint slides, you're going to be learning English with many different resources at EF. We talked a little about the books. So we have a common European framework of reference all the way from A1, which is a beginner level, to C2, which is the upper advanced level. Now, each of these are separated into 3 additional units or levels, which allows students 18 full levels to go through the entire English curriculum. If you begin at A1, you might start at A1.2. And that's like halfway through the A1 level. So we get very specific in order to make sure students can see their progress over time, and it's very clear to them what they're accomplishing in the various cycles of each level. Now, every 6 weeks, we take a level test in our general English classes. The level test is reading and listening and grammar, most of all, but the teachers will also add a speaking and maybe writing component. And they'll holistically evaluate if you are ready to move up to the next level. Most of our students will be, because we try to maintain a program that is easy for all students to move through as long as they're doing the work and putting in the effort. And don't worry if you're not a great test taker, because our teachers are people who will interact with you. So if you have a bad test day, that's no problem. We will be able to understand if you're ready to move up a level because the teacher has seen you every day in class, and he or she will be able to determine more on a holistic side whether you're ready to move forward with our levels. Another aspect of the resources involves your own MyEF account. Every student that books a course with EF has a MyEF account online that they can access from their phones, from tablets or iPads, as well as their computer. And the exercises that are available online will also be available when you finish your course. So depending on how long your course is, you might have 3 more months access to MyEF, or maybe as long as 6 months, which means any of the activities that are available that you did not finish while you were studying in the school, you can do that at your own pace when you get back home. So the iLab classes will sometimes deal with material from this, which is on your MyEF account, but other times you might just have your teacher give you a different assignment. So you might be asked to research a topic on Google and produce a few articles or video clips that support a particular theme or idea that you're learning in the class. This is up to the teacher, and everybody uses the computers and iPads a little differently. So you'll get a chance over time to experience different things when you're using all of our technology. So we talked a little bit about the EF Classroom app. This is on the iPad, and the teacher has access to all of the students in the room and can pass the students different activities. So let's say we wanted to do a little lesson where we have a YouTube clip, and then there's also some exercises and questions that the students need to answer. Instead of everybody going onto the computer and going at their own pace, the teacher can actually send the YouTube clips and the materials in real time. So the students are able to interact with each other, but also have a portable device, the iPad, in front of them. And this will allow them more of a chance to stay at the same pace with the class. So you're never alone in the classroom. The EF Classroom is basically for you and the teacher to do very guided and clear activities. So you're never doing something that you could just do at home by yourself. The other aspect we talked about were the work cards, which is a fancy term for having some role play or communication activities. We want English to be real life, based on real things that you guys might actually encounter in the world. So instead of just having you say a few sentences here and there to practice speaking, we have a lot of cards that provide real role play scenarios. Maybe an event where you go shopping and you have to pretend to be the owner of a store or the sales clerk, and another student, your partner, pretends to be the customer. That way you can interact in a more real world situation, but you're practicing the terms and the specific topics that your unit of the book and your level are asking you to focus on. And then I want to reassess what it is that we do in our teaching methodology. We're a communicative and a task-based learning environment. So at EF, it's very important that our students and our teachers understand why they're doing the activities that they're doing. So the pre-task, task, and post-task methodology is very important so that students can see at the beginning of a lesson, what are we doing today? And it's not going to be, well, we're going to study grammar. It's going to be something like, we're going to learn how to talk about past events. So the students aren't just learning ideas like we're studying vocabulary. They're learning exactly what that vocabulary will help them do in the real world. Then the task activity will actually practice that. So once the teacher elicits all the information from the students and understands more or less what the students already know and have more need to practice, the teacher can move on and give you guys some specific and strategic practice on the English topics that they're studying. Lastly, we have the post-task, which allows students to reflect on what they just worked on, maybe even produce the material in their own way. So to recap about this, maybe the pre-task is the beginning of a lesson. The teacher writes on the board the agenda and what you will be learning and what you'll be able to do by the end, and then moves on to give you controlled exercises. Could be a worksheet, could be grammatic exercise on a piece of paper. And then finally, you have to produce it. Maybe you have to create a play where for a couple lines of dialogue, you and a partner are reenacting something using the grammatical terms that you've currently learned. So it's very holistic. And by the end of the lesson, students can refer back to the agenda on the board and can understand if they really can do those things that they were told would happen in that given lesson. So everything I've just talked about, how does that fit into your weekly schedule? Everybody wants to know when they'll be in class versus when they'll have free time. So most EF schools will try to give you a flip-flop schedule. That means maybe 3 days a week you'll meet in the morning, 2 days in the afternoon, or the opposite, giving you a chance to have some morning time to yourself to explore the city or participate in activities or do homework. And also some days a week when in the evening you have more, or the afternoon, you have more opportunity to explore the city and hang out with your friends. So most EF schools will create a schedule that allows for you to do more than just study English in the classroom. It gives you an opportunity to also schedule activities which can be just as important to your language learning when you're learning in a real city with native English speakers. Now on this schedule, we see an intensive student schedule. If you remember from the beginning, I said an intensive student will have general English lessons usually every day, a couple times for 80 minutes, and then they will have different spin classes. This student schedule has listening and also public speaking, and then also a more casual speaking class. So clearly this student wants to work most on listening and speaking. And the schedule can be tailored to your needs based on what interests you the most and what you need to work on the most. You also have access to your weekly schedule on your MyEF account. So in addition to being able to do activities on MyEF and practice your language, you can check back every Sunday to see what your schedule looks like in case you've made changes. Students are able to change their special interest classes, so perhaps you requested a change, and you can check back on your MyEF account to see if that change was made. You also have the opportunity to see different activities here. So you can choose activities that do not conflict with classes, or make a note of an activity that does conflict in the current week, because maybe next week that same activity will be available when you're not in class. And you can be excited to go because you see it all the time when you check your MyEF account. And it reminds you of the other things outside of the classroom available to EF students. So another aspect of MyEF is it will allow you to check your progress. So if you come into the school on day one, you might already have an English level assigned because you've done a placement test to assign you a level that's more or less accurate. And this will give you an opportunity to see where you need to go in your time. But it's also important to remember, if you haven't been to orientation yet, your level might change a little bit because our placement test is only the the listening, grammar, and reading components. And we need to do speaking in person. So if you check your schedule before you arrive, things might change a little bit once you come into the classroom and you actually meet the different teachers. We do a speaking assessment to better understand your general English needs. Now, you also have available attendance to keep track of how well you're doing, if you're coming to class enough, and what your grades are in your classes. So here you can check to find out if you're doing well enough, or if you're not, you know to go talk to your teacher and ask for some more advice on how to improve. The other aspects on MyEF include resources for grammar, vocabulary, even exam preparation, as well as pronunciation, listening, and reading. So even if your general English level is quite low, these activities can be an even more advanced level. You have access to all the different levels of grammar and vocabulary, pronunciation, exam prep. This gives you a chance to understand more advanced subject matter or even review subject matter that's more basic in case you find that you're lacking in some of these particular skills. So your MyEF, remember, is available a little longer. After you finish your course, you go back to your home country you can still do these exercises. So your language learning does not have to stop with EF simply because you've gone back home. And most of the students that will book courses might choose a shorter term class, but in case you're looking to spend 6 months or 9 months and to study abroad for a lot longer, 2 particular programs that might catch your interest are the Advanced Diploma Program and also our Academic Year Program. Now, Advanced Diploma is intended for students who might want to go to an English-speaking university. So they'll take their general English classes like other students, but their special interest classes will be specific to help them prepare for the rigors of academic life in an English-speaking country. You also have a chance to do our Academic Year Program, which is more about the overall package of events and activities that you're able to do, as well as get some personalized academic mentoring fixed on your schedule every once in a while with the academic director or coordinator. That will allow you to understand better if you're achieving your goals, and if not, how you can better move forward on this path. So let's talk a little bit about what it would look like when you first come to an EF school. Before you arrive, you'll get an email from the school welcoming you, telling you a little bit about our location and when to be at the school for orientation. But you'll also get a chance to take the placement test. As I said, the placement test is a reading, grammar, and listening-based test, and you can do this before you arrive so that the teachers and the students know more or less what the schedule might be, what level you are more or less, before you actually come to the school. Then later, we'll do the speaking assessment when you arrive, and we'll make sure that that's the best level for you. You'll also have a chance to send an email to our administrative coordinator or school director in case you have more questions that you need answered before you arrive. Many students choose to take a transfer from the airport with EF, which is an optional service that you can sign up to have. Basically, the benefits would be you have a EF greeter at the airport that's recognizable and will help you to safely arrive at your location, your accommodation. And also you know that it's a safe and friendly environment. But it's an optional service, so you can choose to have yourself picked up, or if you feel comfortable as well. On day 1, your orientation day will start earlier in the morning, usually about 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and you'll get a tour of the school itself. You'll see all the classrooms and where the offices are of the staff members, where you might relax in a student lounge, and where the iLab is. So you'll get a feel for the school right away, and then you'll go and talk with the staff when they give some presentations about their various departments. So we have housing or accommodation, we have academics, we have administration, and we have activities. And these departments will explain who they are, introduce themselves, and make sure you know what they can help you with throughout your time at EF. You'll also have a chance to take that placement test if you didn't, but it's a good idea to do that before you arrive. It's the best way to ensure your first day is calm, relaxing, and not full of tests or anxiety. Now, during that time, those that have already taken the placement test will participate in their first lesson. The first class will be with many different levels because it involves all the new students, but it's a sample lesson in which real teachers will provide an example of that methodology we talked about earlier, like task-based learning and communicative methods. So students will have a chance to get to know other students, talk a little bit in English, and just be a little looser when they first arrive, which is very important on day 1, as many students are worried or nervous, and this is like an icebreaker, gives you a chance to interact in a casual way. We also, in many schools, use that as an opportunity to give you a speaking assessment. Each school might do the speaking assessment a little differently, but for example, in my school, we like the aspect to be casual. That way a student is not nervous and all alone next to the academic director trying to produce the most advanced grammar and vocabulary they can think of in the moment. Instead, we like to just observe and listen to you speaking in a more calm way, which we find gives us a more accurate understanding of your real level. That speaking assessment, remember, is the final place for us to understand what your level should be. We take a look at your placement test score and your speaking assessment score. We make a compromise so that you're in the right general English level from day one. We also, during orientation day, give students a chance to take a city tour, which is an important way to get to know the actual location that they'll be studying in. And finally, later in the day, your schedules or timetables will be ready, which means that students have a chance to see what their official schedule will look like, and they know when and where to be at the school the next day. So the other departments outside of academics will also be accommodation, activities, and these are very important aspects to your language learning. If you remember that first or second slide we looked at, the quote from an EF student is about the whole package of our English school. We are providing really wonderful English language classes, but we're also providing you with homes to fit into the environment better and activities to fill your weekly schedule so that you have more than just classroom activities every day in your life with EF. Accommodation is usually a host family or a residence. Now the host family is what we're looking at now. There's some pictures of, looks like real families just spending time, quality time together. And this is a great choice for students who want that family feel even when they're abroad in a strange environment. The host family environment is always very safe and the quality is maintained because EF staff members are always going to these homes even after they're selected to host students to make sure that our quality is the most important thing. But we also have a chance in host families to feel like a real native. Our schools are based in locations with lots of different neighborhoods. So in a current city, there might be many different, 200 different neighborhoods available. And staying in a host family gives students a chance to explore those neighborhoods on a basis that's a little more intimate than if you're just looking there on your own. You also have a chance to go to and from the school using public transportation. So you'll be using English to get around. And you'll feel quite strong and independent to be able to interact in a real world setting using the English skills that you have. The meals and accommodation will vary. With host families, we do every single day breakfast and dinner. And then on Saturday and Sunday, you'll also have lunch provided as well. Now in our residences, it's a little different. Some residences do not have any meals provided in them because the school might have a cafeteria, or perhaps the school is located in a very popular area for restaurants and cafes, so it's not necessary to have a cafeteria on site. The residences are a little different from host families as you're not going to be staying in that family feel. It's a little bit like an apartment, but with many different students that you'll be studying with every day. So one staff member is usually in each residence, could be more, to make sure that you can have help or guidance if you need it, but it's a little more independent. Nobody's cooking you breakfast or dinner, and you can come home without telling anybody exactly where you've been or having those conversations. So it's a choice you might make if you're a little more independent and you don't want to have that family environment. The residences have several different options. You could be in a single room, be in a twin room, or you could have many different people. So when you talk with your sales office, it's important to specify what you're interested in living like when you get to your current location. So also in the residences, there are sometimes athletic centers, or maybe within walking distance, we can direct you to an appropriate athletic center or gym. And it's always a secure environment. So EF makes sure that the buildings we choose are in good locations and in places where students can feel comfortable coming and going throughout the day. So just to show you a couple pictures of what a residence might look like, here you see a couple bunk beds where one is right on top of another. That's obviously for more than one student in the same room. And here as well, another type of setting. Most of it is pretty comfortable. You have your bed, you have your bathroom, could be a shared bathroom, that depends on the school, but it's a pretty standard residence environment in all the different schools. So make sure to ask your sales office for specific details if you want more information about what your accommodation will look like before you book your course with EF. And the other department that's really important to talk about would be the activities department. So activities is a place that can be really tailored to the student interests. All the EF schools have a full-time activities coordinator that is there looking for activities every single day of the year. That means that they'll produce a schedule for you, which you can look at, and you can make decisions about whether you want to participate every day or once a week, however it's convenient to you. Many students have different budgets, and they also are different ages. So activities are important to be catered to each. And sometimes there will be activities that are best suited for certain students that have a particular interest. Sometimes they're more open to everybody. So a lot of the common ones, sports games. In every city, there might be a professional sports team that you'd like to go see. Also, museums or popular attractions in the city are common activities. We also do sometimes larger trips. So a student might be able to go for a weekend to that group. So it's important to check that schedule regularly and see what places you might be interested in going to with the other EF students that you meet when you get to our schools. School and the city and just tourist information, like how to get a bus pass. So he is like your city insider and will be able to provide you with all the surrounding knowledge, all the things that are beyond the school walls. When you sign up for the activities, you can do that using your MyEF account, or you can even look at some of these activities on Facebook. And you can sign up and show your interest and see if your friends participate too. And then when you're ready, if it's a paid activity, you can pay for this online as well. Or maybe you changed your mind and you decide to do an activity again later. So the online convenience allows you to network a little bit and to see if the people you want to go with are also interested. And then you can help motivate more people to come, especially if the activity only has a couple interests. Why not suggest to your friends? You see that only a couple people want to go, you want to go, you can easily promote it yourself and tell other people about it. So it's a great way to stay socially engaged in the city. I'll show you an example of what a schedule might look like for some of the days of the month. This month is October, so Halloween is a popular holiday. It's the 31st of October in the United States. And we find a lot of fun activities related to holiday events, but then there's also your regular average activity, like going to a monument or perhaps visiting a music club and seeing some live music that is based in that city. So with all of the different activities that are available to you, it's also possible to talk to the activities coordinator and make some suggestions yourself. They're always there to help you. So remember, if you want to do something or see something, maybe other students want to do that too. And all the staff feel like it's important to connect. So not just with activities, but with academics, with housing. Stop into our offices, say hello, tell us how you're feeling. We're very happy to tailor things to your needs, but we need to know. And so that's why on day one, we show us our faces, we show you who we are and what we do, and that gives you a chance to know us better throughout your time with us. The activities are a great way to learn English outside of the classroom. And as an academic director, I can stress that students that don't participate in activities will actually learn a little less, or they'll learn a little slower than the students that do activities. And the reason is because we're here studying in another country for that full immersion effect. So if you come and you do all your homework, that's great. You participate in every class, wonderful. But in addition, try to interact in the real world. Try to go out and use your English at a museum or have a drink with a friend at a local cafe, and this will allow you a chance to socialize even with native speakers. Most of our cities have many friendly people in them. So you might sit down at your cafe, you're having a Coca-Cola, you start talking to someone you don't know, and they'll ask you about your life, and you can have a chance to use English like a real life situation. So remember that our language studies are very centered around real world expectations. If you come expecting just to learn from a book and listen to your teacher lecture, then it's not a good place for you. You want to come and be immersed. You want to come and accept all of the opportunities and resources that EF has to offer, because that's what makes us so special. We give you the entire English language package. So that's the end of this lecture presentation. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by and watching me, and having this opportunity to speak with you is great because we get to put out the word to everybody and make sure you all know what you need to know to be motivated to study with us at EF. So thanks again. Have a good night.